Still struggling a little bit with the last name of the lead singer of this band. Woo, boy, I tell you what, got getting a little hectic on this fantasy playlist in the top 10. Guess who's in the top 10? Curiosity Killed the Cat with Misfit at number 8, up 5 from 13 on this fantasy playlist August 29, 1987. This will be their only American hit. Curiosity Killed a Cat, a band from London, England, 4-piece band, and they never took off here in the States like they did in England. They had, here in the States, they were pretty much unknown, although they did have one big album, much bigger in England, though, than it was here in the States. But they had 5 top 20 singles in England. But here, I saw one video clip. I remember watching one video clip, a short video clip. I think it was on MTV News or something, of Curiosity Killed the Cat. This says it all about Curiosity Killed the Cat as far as their relative popularity is concerned. And they showed a clip of them in London, England, surrounded by fans. And then they showed them in New York City, just 4 guys, band members in New York City, just standing there by themselves. Nobody has a clue who they are. And that happens. A lot of these British bands, they really take off, and some of them, they just don't, there's no liftoff. Houston, we just don't have liftoff. Although Misfit, their biggest hit, came close to going top 40 for them, but the radio stations, the CHR FM radio stations, extremely reluctant to embrace this band. An unknown band, they don't like playing these unknown bands because a lot of people don't like to hear unknown bands. At least that's the thinking, and it's all about the ratings. But I don't want to get on the soapbox about that. Let's get to this band. Curiosity Killed the Cat, as already mentioned, formed in about 1985, 1986. Actually, Misfit, they originally came out with Misfit. It was released twice. First release was in 1986, but it bombed. Went to number 76 in the UK. Now, the record company pretty much told them, all right, guys, we need to have a new single out next year in 1987. And actually, they did have a single. They had a record in mind called Down to Earth, which became their first really big hit in the UK, and that almost did not happen. The record company did not want to put the song out because they were afraid that during the Christmas rush, the song by Down to Earth by Curiosity Killed the Cat, if it came out as a single, it would be snuffed out by all these renowned artists that would be charting, the Elton Johns, the Dire Straits, maybe the Bananaramas, and this song would just not have a chance. It would die, stillborn. But Curiosity Killed the Cat. The band members insisted, look, we want Down to Earth. The audience likes it. People we play for, they like it. We think it's a catchy record. But the guy, their artist and repertoire man at the record label, they said, no, we're not putting that song out because, it's going to get killed. It is going to flat get killed during Christmas season. But the guys insisted, and not only that, they went directly to the head of artists and repertoire of their record company, and they said, we want this record to come out, Down to Earth. And the guy, the head of the artists and repertoire says, okay, if you insist on it, we'll put it out. But if that song flops, it's on you. The record comes out. It was released around September, October 1986. It was a slow climb up the British charts, but it did survive the Christmas rush. It was not buried under the Elton Johns and the Dire Straits. It continued to climb the charts. Went to number 3 for 5 weeks. Number 3 for 5 weeks in February. It was starting in February 1987 for Curiosity Killed the Cat, and that's when they re-released Misfit. And the album Misfit, the album was called Keep Your Distance, and it was a big album in the UK. Keep Your Distance, it would be by far their biggest album. It went to number 1 on the UK album charts. The album went platinum in the UK. Here in the States, top 50 or top 40 on the album charts over here. And they took a break. In 1989, they came out with another album called Get Ahead and released a single that went to number 14 in the UK called Name and Number. And on that second album, they used more studio musicians. On Get Ahead, Jeff Porcaro played on 3 tracks off that album, Get Ahead by Curiosity Killed the Cat. This will be in 1989. Jeff Porcaro, the drummer of Toto, played on that album. But the album only got as high as number 29 on the UK album charts, and they came back again in 1992. It was a disappointment. It was just a disappointment. 1999, they reemerged. They called themselves Curiosity, and they did a cover. Yeah, they did a cover. They covered the soulful Johnny Bristol record, Hang On In There, Baby, which was a hit in England, went to number 3. That one went to number 3 in the UK, that Johnny Bristol song going back to 1974. And the group Curiosity bringing it back in 1992. And they came out with another album, well, the third album, Back to Front, which I believe the Johnny Bristol cover came off of, did not do much of anything. And actually, the group pretty much broke up early to mid-90s. And I read that they released a greatest hits album, which didn't do much of anything. But I came across something that they came out with a box set. A box set of Curiosity Killed the Cat's hit records, a box set called The Mercury Years from 1986 to 1990. Now, I want to talk about the video just briefly, how they met. Andy Warhol directed the video to Misfit. And I'm going to do part 2, and I'll talk about how that came about. So stay tuned. Part 2 is coming up. Oh boy, so anxious to get into this part. I'm so desperate to get this down because this is one heck of a story. Now, part 2 of the song Curiosity Killed the Cat. The group, the song Misfit at number 8 on the Fancy Playlist, August 29th, 1987. So let's get to it right now. But before I get into the Andy Warhol angle of this record, of the video, the lead singer, his name is Ben. And I'm probably going to, I listened to the pronunciation of his last name online, listen to it online, but I still think I don't think I got it down. Ben Folta Hira Perot. I'll just call him Ben, or the lead singer. But one of his trademarks was he wore, it looked like it was a beret. A lot of people thought it was a beret, but actually it was part of his thing. He wore a fisherman's hat backwards. So let's get into the song Misfit. Misfit, as mentioned in the first part of the video, recorded in 1986. It was recorded at a recording studio, Phonogram Studios. They had a little recording studio, and it was there that Curiosity Killed the Cat. They cut about 2 weeks worth of demos. Now they found out, they got kind of curious. They found out that Andy Warhol was holding an exhibition in London, the West End of London, and this was his first exhibition in years. So they crashed the party, or maybe they got themselves on the invite list. But either way, there was a long line in front of his desk, in front of Andy Warhol's desk. He was signing books. So the group members, they picked up a couple of books, and when they came up to Andy Warhol, they took some pictures with him. They took some pictures with him behind the desk. He was really nice to them. But it might have been because Andy Warhol, he took a shine to their bass player. His name, Nick Thorpe. Took a shine to the bass player, Nick Thorpe. And he signed their books. They took some pictures, behind the desk, which was really cool. The group members along with Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol, he drew a wedding ring. Yes, he drew a wedding ring on Nick Thorpe's finger. And that was something right there. Quite a character, that Andy Warhol. Well, Andy Warhol, he invited them to a banquet. He was going to hold a banquet that night and said, would you guys like to come over? And they did. They came over to the banquet. It was a big affair. There was 500 people there, art dealers, art buyers. sophisticated people. And they were, you know, kind of dressed down for the occasion, but it didn't matter to Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol asked them, you know, I like to, you guys got any songs? You guys make music, or I like to hear your song. And he was curious about their music. And the group, well, the manager brought Andy Warhol a cassette tape of songs that they had made. It might have been a tape of Misfit itself. Well, either way, Andy Warhol, he listened to that cassette tape and he was, man, I like this, man. And he really liked the record. And he said to the group, I want to do a video with you guys. How would you like to come to New York? Well, now their record company, Phonogram Records, they had a video department, of course. Of course, all the groups were making videos by then. By the mid-'80s. That was an absolute prerequisite in the MTV age. And but they gave the group about 30,000 pounds to make a video. That didn't cut it. That was not near enough to hold them in New York City. They were going to go to, Andy Warhol wanted them to come to New York City to make the video. And it couldn't cover all the expenses. Not near enough to cover the expenses of staying in New York City. No way. New York City, like London, a very expensive place to live. Well, guess what? Andy Warhol and his protege was named Don Monroe. Don Monroe, a producer director, they gave the group the rest of the money, and Andy Warhol, he flew them to New York City. He put Curiosity Killed the Cat up for 1 week at the Chelsea Hotel. He gave them some pocket money. Now, here's a real surreal event. They went to the Fang factory. Don Monroe gave them I think I pronounced his last name correctly. Don Monroe gave him a tour of the factory. Now this is really fascinating right here. The group members, they heard one of the guys in the factory say, "Hi Andy, how you doing?" And they looked up and they saw Andy Warhol standing in the back balcony. But it wasn't Andy Warhol. It was a life-sized cutout figure, cardboard cutout of Andy Warhol. Well, they cut the video. They cut the video with the song Misfit, the video. Andy Warhol, he makes a cameo appearance in the video. And the song Misfit was one of their biggest hits in England. Not their biggest hit in England. Went to number 7 in the UK, Misfit. But it was their biggest hit here in the United States. But it only got as high as number 42. That's it. That is it. So Curiosity Killed the Cat, although they're certainly more well-known in England, probably just a pop music footnote here in the States, among thousands of pop music footnotes. But I tell you what, showed them the love on this fantasy playlist. Remember watching that video on Night Tracks, and got Curiosity Killed the Cat with Misfit at number 8, up 5 from number 13. Fantasy playlist of August 29th, 1987. Thanks for bearing with me. I got to correct a couple of mistakes that I made earlier talking about Curiosity Killed the Cat. So call this part 3, and this is after I reviewed the first 2 parts of talking about this band, and there's a couple of mistakes I just want to correct. Curiosity Killed the Cat. I mentioned that they covered a Johnny Bristol song, Hang On In There Baby. That soulful, man, I love that Johnny Bristol record. Boy, that's a ton of soul right there. But Curiosity Killed the Cat. They did a successful, well, they're known as Curiosity by then when they came out with a song. They came out with a remake. Now, in the first part of the video, I accidentally said the song came out in 1999. It was 1992. Got to make that correction. It came out in 1992. Curiosity Kills the Cat's version of Hang On In There Baby. And I also forgot to mention that the banquet that in part 2, I mentioned that Curiosity Killed the Cat. They were invited by Andy Warhol to attend a banquet that night when they met Andy Warhol. And that banquet, I forgot to mention that banquet was held at the Cafe Royal in London. So I forgot to mention that. And I do believe that's all I need to do. Well, it's over. It's done. Thanks for watching this video. Take care.